Aloha mai kako. A Kamai, the Curtain Call, a program of reviews, previews, interviews, and features of and or with the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown. Pro Arts, by special arrangement with Oh Boy Productions, is presenting the first live theater with a live audience on Maui in 16 months. Glory hallelujah! And for the first time back, they have chosen VINNIE LINARESʻ's 20th anniversary portrayal of Father Damien in Damien by ALDYTH Morris. I feel so honored to have been at his first performance at St. Rita's in HAʻIKU 20 years ago, and now 20 years later, and hundreds of performances throughout Hawaii, the mainland, and Europe, including New York City, where they were naming a street in Father Damien's honor, and a performance in Kalaupapa, he has decided to hang up his cassock and, as he says in the program notes, quote, close this long, gratifying chapter of my life, unquote. When the biblically ostracizing illness, then known as leprosy, now known as Hansen's disease, began to show up in Hawaii in 1866, the kingdom felt the only thing to do was to exile the lepers to a leper colony. By the time the kingdom, the territory, and finally the state were done in 1969, 8,000 people, 95% of whom were Hawaiian or part Hawaiian, were ripped from their families and sentenced to life in banishment in Kalaupapa on the island of Molokai. Kalaupapa was chosen as the site primarily for its remoteness and inaccessibility. It is cut off to the south by a 2,000-foot high cliff. The ocean surrounds the rest of the peninsula. It was also chosen because it was thought that the land could support people with fruits, kalo, and vegetables. The ocean also provided food, and fresh water came from the Waikolo Valley and the Waihanau Valley. Society, as we euphemistically refer to ourselves, felt safe having rid itself of these infectious disease carriers. It turns out that 95% of the population is immune from the disease, and the only way the illness could be transmitted, but not easily, is the transfer of body fluids, not by sexual contact, to cause infection in another person. Most of society's aversion to the illness is the outward appearance of those affected by it. Many sufferers are racked with lesions that disfigure their faces. Father Damien, a newly ordained priest in his first mission, draws Hawaii. Oh, happy day. Then the bishop decides to send priests to Kalaupapa to minister to the lepers. He decides that the priest should rotate to minimize the possibility of contracting the illness. Damien is the first to go, and he realizes this is his calling and requests to remain permanently, which the bishop grants. ALDYTH Morris gives us a Damien who is the narrator of the story. He recalls his life from the afterlife, revealing his thoughts about an incident and then portraying that incident.
You have your priest! Do you hear? I am to be your priest. My name is Kamiano. Confessions this afternoon and all night if necessary. Easter Mass tomorrow at sunrise. The next morning, while it is still dark, the small church begins to fill up with creatures from the night. Coughing, spitting, crawling, touching with the fingers they have left the beads around their neck. They fill the church up to the windowsills, up to the doorways. They fill the church to overflowing, not only with their stench, but with the sadness and hopelessness so unbearable I stand there dumbfounded.
His encounters with the bishop are among the most dramatic in the show, and there are many. His frustration and anger at the Hawaii Department of Health's action and inactions are palpable.
True Oriental leprosy, and it will be the duty of the next legislature to enact measures effective but humane by which to bring about the segregation of all those afflicted. From opposite sides of the world, leprosy and I have come to the Sandwich Islands. But leprosy was as old as time itself. I, barely 24.
His love for the residents of Kalaupapa and the incredible work he did to make their lives better make us understand why Pope Benedict canonized him in 2009. He was a saint before he was a saint. His moments of humanity where he connects with his anger at the treatment of the residents of Kalaupapa make him a warrior and defender of the defense.
Up across my face, and I lost myself, and I beat him with my stick until the blood came. And I told him, if ever again I saw him as a child in that manner, I myself would tie a millstone around his neck and cast him into the sea.
When he learns what he knew from the beginning, he will join his people as a full-fledged member of their community. He describes not his transformation, but others' reaction to him.
My leprosy is speedily confirmed by the doctors in the room, and by the look in people's eyes, by the camphor, the handkerchiefs, by their hands clasped behind their back. I am no longer Father Damien. I am a contaminated animal. I am a leper. I'm a leper.
As he watches the progression of the illness, not with horror or fear, but with divine resignation, he transforms us as well. In 20 years, how has Mr. Linares's Damien changed? It has grown in depth of understanding and appreciation for the saint that Damien is. The humor of Damien is frequent, and although there are few laugh-out-loud moments, there are several snickers. The profundity of the situation for the lepers has always been a driving force in this play, but Mr. Linares connects with that force and communicates it without being professorial and makes the audience feel the horrors the residents of Kalaupapa experienced. He communicates the anger and frustration he feels about the Hawaii Health Department and his bishop like a pit bull. In the final scene, we learn of his relationship with his God. It is a beautiful moment and the culmination of a magnificent performance.
Do more harm than good? Did I betray you, Lord? Have I been a defective priest? Have I merely been following the bent of my own temperament? And it was my temperament, Lord, to seek you out with a passion that consumed me. The wounds of love that I found were the wounds of Christ. You were with me in the leprous shacks. You let me hear a festering mass of flesh praise your name. The agonies that I nursed, the wounds that I dressed, were the agony and the wounds of Christ. Tell me this is so, Lord. Tell me this is so. One word from you, Lord, and all these doubts will disappear like smoke before the wind. If it is these doubts that have come between us, Lord, I cast them out. In your name, Lord, I cast them out. Whatever I have done for good or ill, Lord, I am your priest. You are my God. I trust in your prodigious love.
Ali Shore has created a minimal set with an altar as the centerpiece. The addition of the visual images heightens the audience's understanding. The lighting by Luke Holman is dramatic, and there were frequent times when Mr. Linares is addressing the bishop when he was in the dark. Todd Van Amberg is listed as directing consultant, and David Johnston directed the original Damien back 20 years ago. What great bookends for Mr. Linares. Sound was done by Sarah Jelly, and original music that highlighted moments and introduced or transitioned scenes was composed by Rick Case. There are a limited number of seats available for this run, and I know ProArts has added an additional performance on July 22nd. You can go to www.proartsmaui.com for tickets. I hope they are still available. You don't want to miss this performance. It will be the stuff of Maui theater conversations for many years to come. Bravo, Mr. Linares. Well done. Standing ovation for you. Well, that's Curtain Call for this week. Next week, I'll have a review of the reopening of Warren and Annabelle's Magic Show. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paul James Brown. Ahui ho.